What's up, guys? This is an advanced tutorial for KVK. So, I'm going to give you guys just a couple of tips in terms of basically what to do in a couple of situations if you are interested in doing a little bit more upper tier KVK stuff. So, what am I going to cover? So basically, what we're going to cover is just kind of how to bait and trap during KVK, and we'll also cover forts and base fighting. So essentially, okay, in order to bait, my recommendation is prior to the KVK, make sure that, if you're in a guild, make sure that you've got everybody on board. It helps that everybody has got their war gear on, everybody has anti-scout on, everybody, who's participating is ready to go. It helps that if you want one form of trapping that will work 90% of the time with least efficiency cost, have people in your guild reinforce you with tier 3s. The larger the embassy you have, the more you're able to hold. This helps out a considerable amount when you're trapping, and of course, make sure to keep that anti-scout on. Of course, while you're sitting out there baiting, if you do have an infirm that fills up to the exact amount of troops you have, don't be afraid to have Battle Fury. Again, a lot of people will tell you that if you're a trap, you should never have Battle Fury. On the contrary, as long as you're able to shelter your leader, it's really hardly ever an issue. Frankly, I would say as long as your military research is, relatively decent, you should be able to manage just fine. And if you want to know, what do you do if you've got Battle Fury? What you can do is you can actually go after people that are trying to attack your base and such, and I would recommend rallying them to bait them to bring them to your hive. A lot of the time what that will do is it will bring people over to come and attack, and frankly they get pretty fruitlessly blind when they're in a pitch of anger. So they will start attacking. Now, again, it helps to be of lower might between 30 and 70 million, but I've done it when I'm 140 some million might, so frankly, I think just about anybody can do that. Of course, now, if you are more of a solo trap, meaning that your purpose is to have a few million troops, your research is maxed, your level 25 castle, and that you have all infirmaries, then what I would suggest you do during KVK is go to the opposing kingdom and then go over and start baiting. So one way to bait is go port by a hive. Start sending out scouts near their dart nests. Do things that will make them wonder. A lot of the time, if you are a solo trap, it is a lot easier to go porting around in their kingdom than it is to port around in yours. Because oftentimes, if you're in their kingdom, you're an enemy, and they will quickly want to get rid of you. Of course, posting your location and coords yourself isn't recommended, but maybe perhaps getting onto an alt and posting your coords on there is also not such an inefficient way of doing that. Or maybe even giving your leader to that alt. It's really never a bad idea. It gives people the idea that maybe you have Battle Fury. Again, you want to give that notion. Now, on to forts. So if your guild is capable of taking forts, what I recommend you do, at least if you want to attempt it, is that you want to start scouting out the forts and start looking for weak spots. And what I mean by that is that you want to start looking for, not fully filled forts, people that maybe don't have full champ gear. Sometimes you'll see that, sometimes these forts will be filled up with tier 3s. These are the kind of weak spots that you want to start looking for. And what I recommend doing is get yourself a rally leader, have him port here, and then immediately start a rally on the fort. And while you're doing this, again, you might have competition. So keep in mind that if you are going to fort rally, have everybody in your guild start sending troops and then have one person send a siege unit. Now, the idea here is that you want the siege unit to be as far away as possible. So the person that sends the siege unit needs to be a very long distance away. But the idea is that if suppose somebody comes in here and actually does rally then what you can do is you can time your rally after theirs. And the idea would be that you'll cancel that siege unit so that that way it will start the march immediately, causing the actual rally to start. Of course, if you actually can't kick the siege unit out, you can always kick the guy out of the guild, and that will almost always make sure that it will actually kick the unit out. And again, it doesn't really matter too much what siege unit you send. It can be ballista, it can be whatever. It can be an all. It doesn't really matter, as long as that person is willing to cancel when they need to cancel. But having that said, again, when it comes to forts and stuff, it's pretty straightforward. Now, you do want to be on the lookout, because if you do in fact take the fort, the first thing you're going to run into is that everybody will be trying to scout and take your fort from you. So it helps that if you are going to take that fort, you want to make sure that you hold it as long as possible, and the moment somebody comes to rally it, let them rally it, and then the moment they hit the rally and they almost think they're going to hit, if you know that, again, you'll have some time to see, but you'll be able to check and see what they're sending. But if you can't take the hit, make sure to cancel and kick out what's in there. And of course, when this happens, your units will all be returning. So it is helpful that for those that are, that have troops returning from a distance, it helps a good deal if those people almost immediately begin to actually start getting reinforcements, because guaranteed they will get hit. So if you put some reinforcements in there when their armies return, it's an easy way to get some trapping doing. Again, for traps especially, that's an easy way to build your traps up. And again, if you want a recipe for trapping, okay, one form of trapping is to have roughly 2 to 300k in these 3 slots. So you need to have at least 2 to 300,000 per type. Have at least minimum 150 to 250,000 per type here, and you will be able to trap most of your tier 3 to mild solo tier 4 players. Again, it helps a lot to have a lot of tier 4s if you do have them, in which case, again, the same applies. Just have, a good bulk here, and then you don't need near as many tier 3s, and you want to still play with a recipe of somewhere around a 2 to 300k, but if you're using a full infirm capacity of like 700k or 640k, then you definitely want to make sure that you've got at least 700,000 per type. That way you don't get totally wiped out. And again, I hope this advanced tutorial on KVK at least gave you guys some insight on what you can do and just a couple of ideas. Again, as far as, trapping is concerned, I would say that there are many ways to approach it. But again, you don't necessarily have to play with Battle Fury, but you can also get by doing it as well. Again, you can check out some of my videos of prior KVKs that I have actually done if you want to get some ideas on just how to trap different types of players. Again, I've trapped Billion Might players, Tier 3 players, and again, the approach is always the same. You always want to make sure that you have more troops than they're sending. If you guys are being a rally trap, for example, you want to be very conscientious of the fact that they can send up to 2,375,000 troops, and that they could have attack boosts on full champ gear and all gold heroes and all tier 4 in that rally. And those are the things that, again, you want to make sure that if you get rallied, that you are able to hide your troops. So if that in fact happens, you want to make sure that you reinforce everybody around you and shelter. That's the best thing you can do. If you've got more troops than that, then I would recommend sending your troops out and make sure at least one of your armies sends a rally on a Dark Nest, and you'll be able to send a good portion of those troops away. A good way to prepare for this is you actually go into the military command branch and grab the shelter expansion, as well as grabbing the actual Dark Nest invasion, which will increase that army size. Again, that's an easy way to hide troops if you really need to hide them for some reason. Again, I hope this at least was somewhat helpful for you guys. And again, more videos will be on the way. See you guys next time.